Hi, everybody. It's Help Me Be Me. This is Sarah Mae Bates. This is an episode I am calling Negative Feedback Loops, and it is about trending in relationships, I guess. It's about the averages that kind of get rehearsed and repeated in relationships. I would call this an epiphany inducing episode, hopefully. For me, this was an epiphany, or it's like something that's simple, but then once you recognize the absolute, amazingly massive ramifications of this idea, you're like, oh wow, that is like a life deciding factor. Like this in itself is like a huge important scope of understanding when you're in a long-term relationship. A negative feedback loop is basically reality. It creates reality, and it has a huge impact on intimate relationships and close relationships where you're in a rhythm with somebody when you're around that person every single day. And it also affects yourself, your identity, and your relationship with yourself, your perception of your life and what others mean to you. And so much of what occurs in long-term relationships is the result of a receipt of signals that in turn then create signals back to the other person. And in long-term relationships, we become very habituated to an interpretation of another person based on our perception of their signals. So in this episode, I'm going to refer a lot to need-based the need-based self or need-based emotions, and also the whole self and the grounded set of emotions, the resourced set of emotions. And those two selves, the fear-based self and the whole self, they make very different decisions and they act from very different places. The fear self, the triggered self, will come from a place of childborn powerlessness. And the goal for that child self is fix it. My job is to fix it and make everything okay. It's like a desperate grasping self. And the desire we feel when we're coming from that place is based on survival. It's a survival habit we learned a long time ago. It's also based on a fiction. It's based on a dysfunctional belief that it is possible and also that it is our job to fix everything. And in reality, our job is just to show up honestly and with love and as our whole selves, to move from the truth with love and just witness what is true. The answer to all conflict and to all relationships, when we arrive at them from this whole self, is just to a- approach the situation with openness to what is true, accept what is true, embrace what is true, come to this situation with love, with a sense of trust and faith, and let go and let God, or just let go. The truth is already written, and that is a great thing. It is not our job to control outcomes. It is only our job to listen openly, be accountable, but also boundary where something is not about us and not up to us, when it's about somebody else and their truth. So we really have to tune our ability to see that dividing line and see that boundary where we end and where another person's baggage begins. So, what happens over a long period of time when we are habitually coming from our fear self is the other person is reading that fear self and they're responding to it. And so our body and our being is sending off very specific communications when we are coming from fear, that control or a kid self. And what happens when we live from this place chronically is we reduce our ability to come from truth. We reduce our ability to come from openness, trust, and respect for what is. And instead, we become the controller. I'm going to make it okay. I'm going to fix it. I'm going to accommodate all the sickness. And over time, we grow wary and our cups stop getting filled more and more and more. And then we just feel resentful. We feel invisible because quite literally, we have not shown up to be seen. because we've been in that controlling hiding process of like, I'm just going to fix it. It's fine. I'm not here. I'm not here. Everything's fine. So over time, how this happens is two people who used to be in love, they're whole, they're showing up with enthusiasm, they're infatuated, they are excited to be awesome and shiny. And they're excited and they're sharing their excitement. What happens over the time when we're showing up with that fear self of like, you're dysfunction, I'll fix it, I'll fix it. You're dysfunction, I'll fix it, I'll fix it. After years of that, what happens is one person thinks, I don't even think you know me. I don't think you even see me. And they also grow weary. And then the other person thinks, hey, you don't really like me. And therefore, I don't really like you. So these little like energetic meta communications, they're nonverbal for the most part, but they're also verbal. We get trapped into these loops, these negative feedback loops that are all very fear-based and need-based. And the more we try and come from that fear self and control and correct that situation, that imbalance, we start to increase that negative pull. We get into these negative feedback loops that are all based on, but no, can't you see me? They're clarification loops. But I was trying hard. You can't be mad. What? Can't you see I'm right? Can't you see I'm right? So that symptom just perpetuates itself. And suddenly, the majority of a relationship is these clarification arguments, bids for appreciation, clarification, semantics, fear-based pulling. It's like they get so lengthy and they also become habituated. So you might find that like over the course of years, there are many, many hours per week being spent in this energy that is all based in that fear negativity. It's not based in the whole excited gift giving, I accept truth. It's all based in the fear controlling the baggage. We're all living in that old baggage energy. We pay attention more to physical language than we do to verbal language. And so a lot of this exchange is happening via physical cues. We're demonstrating our hopelessness. We're physically communicating, energetically communicating our exhaustion, our sense of dread, our sense of longing, our sense of loneliness. There's this study from the 60s, I think. It's the Merabian, Albert Merabian, I think that's how you say his name. It was a study about the importance of visual body language versus verbal language. The study has been contested in different ways, but the nut of it is nonverbal communication accounts for the majority of what we receive. We are reading it with our body, we're reading it with our side eye, we're like taking in so much information from one another, completely separate from words. I also think energetically we're communicating things. If you're in a rhythm with somebody, you're communicating all the time in your mind regardless. So they know a lot more than you think they know just because you're thinking it and you're projecting it from your energy. And so we are already making assumptions based on what another person's thinking, even before you open your mouth. So let me set this up for you. Two people, both feeling not seen, both feeling like you're not being nice to me, you're not being loving to me. They're not demonstrating any outward expression of love, adoration, excitement to see one another because this loop has been reinforced and has become such a majority for such a long period of time. And then they become just tuned to seeing that this is not a good relationship because this person doesn't like me. That becomes what they perceive because they have rehearsed this interpretation of the other person's language solely based off of nonverbal interactions, chronically seeing this like false vibe from this other person, which has been fed by their vibe. It's all kind of like solidified by being in that triggered state. We learn reality by what we practice. This creates our filter for the world. And I just want you to digest that for a minute. Like a lot of couples, a lot of people who cohabitate are practicing, habitually practicing, believing that the other person does not like them just because they are existing for such a long period of time in a loop of triggers. So when they receive that in a nonverbal way, they then give off reciprocally, oh, well, I don't like you either then. That's how their body retorts to this perspective of that other person. So the loop has created the perspective, which creates the feeling, which creates the perspective, which creates the feeling, which creates the perspective. Each cue reinforces the next. The whole origin of the feeling is a misreading of the other person's cues. In reality, those people are probably pretty much the same people. They are probably pretty much as appreciative of all of the things about that person. They're probably just as in love with all of the things about those people. The situation has created the norm by which they interpret the truth of their relationship. So, why is that so important? Because it's not about what it's about. It's just about the way humans are. It's a result of how humans are. We like people that like us. There's so many studies about this, but like when other people like us, it validates, it rewards us. It makes us feel like we are likable. And really that comes down to we all deep down have insecurities. We all deep down feel a little bit of a thread of worthlessness that we're staving off. Like the ego is kind of built off of this need to prove we are perfect and the need to stave off the feeling of unworthiness. Like that's just kind of like the, I don't know, operating system of the computer. So we are very self-centered in our opinion of others. We like to be liked. And when we don't feel liked or we feel rejected, we then say, well, then I don't like that person. The instinct is to cut our losses and to say, well, if you're not nice to me, you don't deserve me being nice to you. So it erodes at the cycle of niceness. The more this ricochet happens back and forth, it just erodes at the kindling for the fire. And as we all know, the more responsibilities you have in an intimate relationship, the work responsibilities, the child rearing responsibilities, the house slash finance, all those responsibilities, what they do is they drain on the resources for niceness. They create an average that is less and less enthusiastic, less and less shiny. What happens is people get exhausted, they feel tapped, and then immediately people's triggers for a feeling of rejection are activated. That becomes much more common. And when you feel like rejected, when you're in that fear, that little kid fear state, there is a desire to minimize risk. Like, I'm not going to put myself out there. I don't want to be hurt. So we withdraw, we stay quiet. I want to give you a little thought experiment to try out. If you imagine yourself, if you are in a relationship, maybe it's a work relationship, maybe it's a close personal friendship, maybe it's a romantic relationship. I want you to imagine whoever this person in your relationship is, they walk into the room, they see you, they light up. They're visibly excited to see you. They laugh audibly at your jokes. They gesture warmly, rub your arm. They brought you a small gift. You, if you imagine that feeling, your mind will immediately say something like, wow, you know what? I really like this person. They're great. That friendly rapport would cause a change of definition in your mind. And you might look at the issues that you previously felt as small and inconsequential. Like previously, they felt really like imminent and dire, but like suddenly they're not so bad. So, based on all of what I've just said, the goal is to, if this sounds at all like your situation, is to A, recognize what is happening, B, choose to not be in that fear self and instead get to a place of wholeness, only act from the place of wholeness. And we have to gain access to that wholeness by using deliberate, consistent workarounds to reset the baseline of our mood and therefore the average interaction in the relationship. So, how do we reset the average interaction in the relationship? It has to start by like bringing in that kindling. We got to give more like. We got to give more. I'm whole. I'm throwing in all the like. And what that means is like, quite simply, we have to supply the unconditional love. It might seem like incredibly challenging. But once you recognize that there's this misfire happening, this loop, it becomes more logical and therefore you don't take it as personally. You're not coming from that little like needy, well, what did you do for me? Like that kid needy self. Once you make them obsolete, it becomes so much easier as a goal because it's not about you. You know what I mean? It's not like based on need. It's not tit for tat anymore. So that's a really long intro. That is what I intend to tackle with these tools. With that, there are three parts to this episode: the what, the why, and the how. The tools. Part one, the what. The habituated pattern that develops between two people over a long period of time. The feedback loop. There are lots of loops that develop based on someone's baggage or lack slash need. There's also just the simple interaction of our sensitivity and our level of vulnerability and our level of anxiety created by vulnerability. And so that will dictate a lot of our risk tolerance. And so our risk tolerance is activated when somebody else is not able to signal all of the right cues to us. So, how we connect in our original state of the relationship, for example, one person, when you meet them, puts you on a pedestal, makes you feel so adored, so secured. As we grow more familiar in a relationship, and as the relationship continues to carry on over many years, we might expect that we always be put on that pedestal. And so when the other person stops doing that, let's say they're exhausted, they have lots of chores, things become more routine or mundane, or there's emotionally taxing life situations. If you're not on the pedestal anymore, that person might feel angry and resentful, like, but you promised you're always going to put me on the pedestal. That need, that resent, that anger, however, is motivated by an unmet need. And therefore, there are workarounds because you can, and we absolutely do, grow out of unmet need based forms of relating to one another. And there will be different ones that fit together based on the type of partnership and the type of relationship. And as we grow together, as we progress in our personal growth, we will also change in the way we related to one another originally. So the goal for all of us and the goal for all healthy relationships is, if you're a healthy, stable adult, and just check in with yourself and confirm that this rings true for you as well. The goal is to love another person unconditionally and also want what is best for them unconditionally, and to genuinely wish for their happiness, their health, regardless of what that means. And it's like the same thing that goes for how we love our kids. It is without self. And we arrive at that kind of love as a complete person. It's like there is no lack. There's no hole that needs to be filled. I was about to make a "that's what she said" joke. And I stopped myself because I'm mature. We arrive at that love complete. We're not pulling from that place of lack. So how do we get to that place if we're being triggered and if not feeling whole? If, like all of those loops create that trigger pull of negativity of, but you promised to give me XYZ. Part two, the why. Fear. Fear is the selfish emotion that conflicts our motives and causes us to act from a place of fixing. It's like the accommodation of dysfunction. It's not authentic. Fear causes us to not reach out, to not express care and love, to not apologize, to not go out on a limb, to not risk being hurt. It also conversely causes us to people please the wrong people. So you might find that when you people please, you try and make people like you who clearly do not like you. And a slew of other emotions get triggered in us when we go through that degrading effort, you know? So you might end up feeling low, small, angry at yourself, stupid and resentful and silly. And the desire to people please arises when someone puts us on the back foot, when somebody puts us in a place of defense, of it validates a fear about self. And so as soon as we're acting from fear, we're now in that trigger need-based self. And whenever you're in a relationship, there is a level at which we relate to the other person that is almost unconscious, that is based on our origin, based on our original identity. And it connects us in a way that is, it feels very familiar. We can't often identify it, but we'll often feel like the other person's very familiar. We speak the same language of identity. And that is because we complete some part of one another, some part of one another that is often wound based, though we can grow out of our wounds. And through that process, we have to figure out a new way to relate to one another, which it can happen when we're growing out of wounds. It can happen for different partners at different speeds. So there might be some friction that occurs in that process. So all of that is to say, when we start to choose to step out of a loop, a habituated loop, it it's like we're trying to reckon with the other person and say like, no, 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 look, we got trapped in a bubble. Let's meet up here because we know in truth, we're not in fear. When we know we're in truth, we have the same goal. And that goal is a loving and good one that doesn't have selves involved. So, with that, here's part three, the how, the tools. But first, a brief word from our sponsors. Three, the how, the tools. All right, the first tool is called recognize. I want you to first learn to recognize when you and your partner or coworker, whoever they are in the fear-based body. What does it feel like? What does it look like? What are the scripts of that person? What is the switch? What flips it? And in the case of your partner, what are the situations? Like you can start to see it happening like a few minutes before it happens. What's the what's the first correction? What's the first vibe that sets it off? Whatever it is, journal about it, write your scripts, write your signs, just become innately aware of them. Next, I want you to recognize, what does it feel like when I am whole, when I am coming from love, when I'm not triggered? What does that self know? How do they act? What does the energy feel like in my heart and my shoulders and my belly? They are resourced. They feel safe. They don't yell. They have compassion. They can see all the good qualities of the other person. Just like whatever those things are, describe it in your journal. Get to know it well. Third step, I want you to see or start to learn to see that line between that whole self and the trigger based self as soon as you get sucked into a battle. And as soon as you are asked, it's like the initiation point will usually be you're put on the back foot. You'll get into a state of, wait, but no, like you have to defend. You get on the witness stand and you're on the defense. That's usually the moment you cross over into that line of like, now I'm gonna battle to be seen. I'm gonna battle to be vindicated. As soon as you get sucked into that long, drawn out semantic negotiation, you're training in that habit. That's the default. It will suck up so much energy and it's a battle of egos. So it's each ego will be like trying to validate itself. And that whole loop is very much unmet need to unmet need. So the goal, what I'm asking you to do is stay out of that. Try whatever we're trying to develop strategies to never cross that line, never get into that, cross that boundary into that other self. Stay out of that time warp. Our goal is to recognize the moment we are about to be triggered into that loop and instead opting out, zagging, derailing it, whatever way we can best do that. So it might be quite literally distraction. Oh my gosh, my phone rang. It could also be, I love you. I'm sorry. I need to take a break. This is heading in the wrong direction before you get sucked into the loop. Yeah, I'm just asking you to strategize a plan beforehand so you don't enter the vortex. It is such a seductive vortex because it is tapping into the fear of the original self. It's like the little unmet need self is like, no, you cannot say that. But no one will ever win. All that will happen is you'll stay in the loop of baggage. All right, the next tool, give more like. We got to build up the like. I know that this is much easier said than done, but like the first step of this process is to literally journal about all the things you like about this person originally. What did you used to like about this person? Think of all of the rare and wonderful qualities and think about how you can show up as if they are that person once more. It will feel like it's like almost like trying to reactivate a dead nerve in some ways because it'll feel like a lot of effort. Whereas originally it was like easy and natural and there was boundless chemicals flowing and there's, energy and spaciousness. But we literally have to return to that memory and deliberately give like. We have to deliberately become aware enough to send the visual cues to the other person of like. I really like you. You're awesome. We have to start the flow of the new cues. That's the tool. All right, the next tool, life is a prompt. I 100% believe this. Life is literally a prompt. Whatever we are prompting in our mind is what is occurring in reality. So, net, be accountable and ethical with your energy, with your thoughts. Literally, mark my words, this will be taught in schools in like 5 years from now. I think we are priming reality and prompting reality with what we expect, with our energy, with our thinking. So if you catch yourself writing a prompt in your head, AKA having a thought that is, this is going to be fucking terrible. Well, here we go. Now everything's going to be bad. That's prompting. As soon as you notice a thought, stop. As soon as it's mean, dire, dim, hopeless, stop it dead in its tracks. Just the first step is to notice it's happening. And as soon as you notice it, this is exactly what I say in my head. As soon as you notice it, you say, maybe something amazing that I absolutely cannot expect or anticipate will actually happen instead. And it's as if you're an actor on a stage playing a part. I want you to, in your body, assume that is true. Just like what it means is like you'll just relax your shoulders. You'll embody a state of openness and trust in your body. Like I'm performing as the trusting, open person. And that little two-step process is how we untrain habits of prompting and retraining loops of negativity and of I don't like you. That's how we stop giving off the cues of I don't like you. All right, the next tool. What is the secret wish? There's always a secret wish embedded in somebody's whatever they present to you. If it's like they're bringing up a big issue, they're presenting you with a problem, they're complaining about something, they're whatever big conversation you have, there's a secret wish that is embedded in that bid, whatever it is. And and the goal is to discern, despite the style, despite the words, what is the secret wish here? Like what when I just fuzz it all out as if we're speaking different languages, we're two, and this is an alien visiting from another planet. What is their secret wish here? And that would be the base of the interaction. And I don't think you can do it in the moment necessarily. It's something that you can think about separately and like really when you have some emotional distance. Oftentimes, it's a very opposite wish than what is presented in verbal form. Like, we all are brought up differently in different, we also have different emotional selves and the capacities. We have different language abilities, we have different sensibilities, we have different styles of relating to one another, we have different ideals of how people should relate to one another. We also have different awarenesses of self. So some people are brute. They're not objectively soft in any way. They're not verbose in any way. But that has nothing to do with the secret wish. So I'm going to give you an example. A person might say, we have nothing in common. You're not fun at all. I just, I don't know what to do. So that might feel rude, offensive, cold, an insult. I don't know. Like it might feel like a million things. The initial response might be like, well, then fuck you. I don't want to be with you if you're telling me all these bad things about me. However, when you think about it, if you take it apart, the meta communication, the secret wish, could be, can you see I'm trying to ask for change? There's a plea for connection. There's a plea for connection and warmth. The words might not be kind or warm, they might be bleak. The secret wish is, can you see me and meet my needs? This is the action of a person who does want closeness. A person who doesn't want closeness, who doesn't want to work on a relationship, is out the door and pretending not to see your phone call. The person who does not want closeness is not going to start a conversation like that at all. So the triggered self in that situation would be like, how dare you? However, the whole self who has no lack, who has no fear, who has no need, can arrive at that, cannot react from the fear or the trigger, can digest it from a distance, and then say in response, I 100% can be more present and like I can think of some fun things for us to do. And I am here. I'm in it to win it. I care about you. We can give the like. We can give the sight. We can say, I see you. It's not about me. It's about you. I see you. That resource is what we're trying to generate here. I know it sounds so hard, right? Next tool. This is for all my codependents out there. I put this in a lot of episodes. I am not psychic. It's my mantra. I'm not psychic. This is a reminder to when we go into the guilt state, the rumination about, oh my God, I'm ruining everything. I feel so bad. I just walked away from this long, long conflict and I'm not defending myself, but I feel like really insecure now because I think they're probably in a full spiral and like I feel terrible. When you're in that scripting, that rumination scripting, I am not psychic and I'm wrong. That's the other half of what I want you to remind yourself of. Whatever I'm thinking, I am wrong. Whenever we think we're mind reading, we did this growing up. We assumed we knew everything about what everybody was thinking and feeling. We had this whole elaborate narrative about us and the other person and like what they thought about us, but it was all false. It was all false. And we as adult selves can recognize that. We'll learn it at some point in time. In this trigger, we will go back into the childhood belief that we know what's happening, that we know what other people are thinking. I just want you to remind yourself that guilt storytelling is all false. And your first thing you have to do is step back from the desire to mind read. It's not your business. It's not your jurisdiction. It's not your job. And then separate from that, just to really practice untraining that habitual response of like super intense guilt. I want you to go through these two visualizations. I'm going to call them like visualizations slash meditations. The first one, fully imagine play by play in your mind's eye the worst case scenario happening. All of the things you're fearing come true. Fully imagine it, embrace it, accept it, welcome what will be, what is meant to be, and know that you will survive that because you will. You're completely capable. You absolutely will survive it, and let it go and say, like, I accept what will be, I let it go. Next, I want you to imagine the best case scenario, all of these things that you couldn't possibly going so well. You can't imagine how perfect they are. All these things that you have, no hope that will happen. All of those things happen that are amazing, wonderful. Accept it, embrace it, accept what will be, and let go. And really, what we're doing is we're teaching our body a new response to the trigger. By rehearsing the feeling in the body, our brain believes it to be true that we feel that way. And then very soon, the more you practice this, it will actually be true for you that you will be less associated with the trigger. Okay, the next tool, so silly, and I love it. I'm doing it right now with my kids. The bean experiment. Um, the bean experiment is basically buy bean seeds, plant them in an egg carton, split the egg carton in half, draw a happy face on one half of them, draw a mad face on the other half of them, water them, give them equal sunlight, and every single day you say, I love you, you're amazing, you're going to grow so high, you're going to be so successful. You say great things to the happy face side, and then to the mad face side, you say, like, you're going to die, you're not going to be success, I hate you. And then just watch what happens. Just watch what happens. The amazing part of this experiment, the only reason I put it in here is I just want you to be aware of the true physical presence of your energy and your intention. It is very physical, it's very in the space, it's very felt, it's very real. And you will see in your being experiment, the happy side grows, the mad side does not. It's just a great way to like really witness the power of your feelings. I did this with my husband. It was pretty nuts. It's pretty amazing. All right. The next tool, intentionality is God. I think of intentions as like your North Star. And especially in the case of negative feedback loops of relationships, in familiar ones, it's so easy to come from the need based triggered self and walk into a conversation with, they will say I am right. That will be the intention. It'll be a secret negative intention of like, I'm going to make them apologize. They're going to feel bad. You're always going to perpetuate more badness and more trigger if you're walking into a situation with that intention. So, this is a great way to keep yourself conscious because no one wants to be that way. No one wants to perpetuate more badness. It's only when we go into the unconscious fear based kid that we start to act from that place. So, we have to, once we're back in the wholeness energy, remember your intention. Your intention is, for me, it's a statement. It's like 3 sentences. I want you to write yours down. My intention is to be inspiring, loving, and to make people laugh, make them see their own power. Whatever yours is, write it down and then remind yourself of that intention or have a very clear positive intention before you walk into any conversation with your partner. And as soon as you have that intention and you hold it in your mind's eye, they will 100% feel it. They will know it, and it will affect how they receive you and how you receive them. It'll change the content of everything. It is bizarre and powerful. The other thing that you can do is having the intention of, I want to hear them, I want to see them, I want them to feel appreciated. See how that changes the content of the conversation. It'll guide everything. All right. The next tool is a mantra, kind of related to the last one. Need is not loving. This is just a reminder for because we often lapse into that need-based kid self and we'll fall into that self when we're triggered. And so, as soon as you're making bids for love and attachment from that need based self, it's selfish. So, just as a really good rule of thumb, if you want to make a bid for closeness, if you want to make a connection point with your partner, come from wholeness. Arrive at it when you are not feeling needy. Arrive at that when you're feeling great, enthusiastic, resourced, whole, sober, mentally complete. That's the position to be like, "Hi, I've shown up and I want to be close." All right, a couple journal prompts for you. Know where the ground is. I think one thing that is a good practice to have throughout your life, throughout your relationships, is to process for yourself on your own time what you feel about the relationship and know where you stand, what it means to you. Just do a journal reflection with you on you and really weigh what is this worth to you, agnostic of what the other person thinks or does. Base this purely on how you feel. And then that will really alleviate so many questions. I think what happens is we base so much on the other person. We base so much on what they think, what they want, what their opinion is of us, how they are treating us, what they're saying to us. And we are purely making decisions about how we feel based on that feedback when there is such a long game, there's such a big picture timeline that's happening that's going like this constantly. There's little ticks on that line. So the goal for you is just to remember the baseline. Where do you stand based on that bird's eye view of that very varied timeline, not being reactive in the moment? Next journal prompt, you are what you believe. This is a very fun one. The just simple prompts. Here's where I am. Here's where I want to be. Here's what I want to get rid of. And this is just really an accountability exercise. And uh, it's a nice, super simple way to think in terms of emotional health, holistic life health. And those are my tools. I hope this gave you an epiphany. And I want to thank all of you out there who have donated and written to me and given me reviews and sent me notes, sending you all love. I am so grateful to be of service to you all. I genuinely think of this as a personal relationship, and I really speak to you from a sincere place. And I know you know that, but I just wanted to say it. And if you have time for a comment on Apple, it's always appreciated. If you can share it with somebody who can use it, that I appreciate that as well. In closing, I send you my love, come from love, and welcome the fact that it is not your job to control the future. And all you can do is show up, try hard, be honest, give others the benefit of the doubt, and most importantly, clarify with them what they intend. Do not assume. I think we assume so much of others based on what we fear and we project. And we often don't give them a chance to tell us the truth. We often say, oh, they're thinking XYZ and they're really thinking blah, blah, blah. Intentions are often opposite what we assume they are. And what we're often reading is them in a fear state or them in a low state or them in an exhausted state. We cannot see the truth of others and just assume you don't know. Assume it. And if you're starting to read something negative, like check in, come from love, be in that whole state in your bodily energy, and let the rest go. And don't forget to smile.